republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Bateman,
Here.
Mr. Goodyear, Mr. Hart,
Here.
Mr. Ori,
Here.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Here.
Mr. Ping,
Here.
Can we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Goodyear?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. With us tonight, we have our Assistant City Manager, Chris Weinich, City Manager, Dave Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, our Fire Chief, Ott Huber, Police Chief, Michael Gabrielson, former council members, Pat Mays, Todd Osborne, and, he's not here. And former Mayor, Rob Weisgerber. I think that's everyone. Welcome, everyone. We also have two honorable dignitaries here tonight. We have our judges, Loxley and Fisher. It is your turn.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of council. I have a slide flipper here, which consists of looks like a mouse, and your city manager said this is pretty much foolproof, but he didn't say it was judge-proof, so we're going to give it a whirl.
We shall see.
But thank you on behalf of the entire staff of the Warren County Court to allow Judge Fisher and me to come back out here again this year and give you this presentation. We go to all of the township meetings and all to the municipalities and villages in our jurisdiction. There are 17 of the 18 who allow us to come in just like you to give an update and a presentation on what's going on since we were last here 2 years ago and what we have going on in the future. So once again, thank you for having us. So far, so good.
Yeah.
This shows myself and Judge Fisher, who will give the second half of the presentation. We have in the county court divided our jurisdiction in half, and I preside over the northern half of the county, or Area 1. Judge Fisher presides over the southern half, or Area 2. When you think of Warren County Court, you say, well, it's Warren County, so it covers all of Warren County, but that's not true. It doesn't cover all of Warren County. Warren County Court of Common Pleas has jurisdiction through the entire county. Warren County Probate Court has a jurisdiction through the entire county. Warren County Domestic Relations Court has jurisdiction through the entire county, but the Warren County Court, where we are, does not. The reason for that, if you think of it, makes sense. There are 3 municipal courts in Warren County, one up in Franklin, one in Lebanon, and one down in Mason, and they have their own respective jurisdictions. So the Warren County Court jurisdiction, where we are, is everything excluding the jurisdictions of those 3 municipal courts. So hence the 8 townships, 10 villages and municipalities in the Warren County Court jurisdiction. We are interchangeable parts. Even though I live up north and Judge Fisher lives down south, we don't have to live in the respective Area 1, Area 2 jurisdictions. We cover for each other every once in a while. See, that's the right click there, Mr. Kennedy. There we go. This is a listing of our court staff. We work closely with the deputy clerks of court. The clerks of court work for the elected clerk in Warren County. So this is the court staff. That does not include the deputy clerks. I'll just point out on the left-hand side toward the bottom, Alyssa Kisseberth is our case assignment commissioner. She joined us in late 2022, hit the ground running after for many, many years serving in the domestic relations court across the street. On the right-hand side, Madison or Maddie Wallen and Elaine Stonebreaker are the 2 newest additions to the court staff. Maddie as our 3rd probation officer and Elaine as our probation clerk. This slide shows the number of cases that we see in the Warren County Court jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is about half of the population of Warren County. And you can see from a comparison of year by year that the statistics kind of go up, they kind of go down. We didn't include the year 2020 on this slide for obvious reasons. That was the year of the pandemic. There's no reason to put those numbers up there, although last time we were here, we did mention to you that we were open every day during the pandemic. We just didn't have jury trials the last part of March, April, May. We resumed those on the 1st of June of 2020. We were open the entire time. But you can see the numbers here. I will point out under the traffic numbers there at the bottom, we've gone down a little bit since 2019. Taking a look at our historic numbers, back in 2007, the Warren County Court had filed in our jurisdiction over 6,000 traffic citations. Last year, just over 2,500. 2008, we had over 5,100 traffic citations. And with the increase in population, it's kind of counterintuitive. But at one audience earlier this year, when I mentioned this slide to the audience, a person chimed in and said, well, maybe here's the reason, Judge. Maybe a person came into your court after receiving a citation. They realized after sentencing they better not come back, and they haven't come back ever since. That's a good enough reason as any. I'm going to talk about a couple of current issues listed on this slide. Judge Fisher will talk about a couple of current issues during his presentation. One is distracted driving. I think everybody in this room at one time or another has been on the roadway, and it doesn't have to be a residential roadway. It can be a state route or even the interstate, and see somebody who's driving while they're looking at their cell phone, maybe trying to punch in numbers, maybe trying to send a text, playing video games, being on a laptop. It's against the law. And as of April of last year, it's now a primary offense. You don't have to have a second offense for somebody to be cited for distracted driving. There was a 6-month, as you recall, grace period last year. We're starting to see those cases now in the Warren County Court. A first offense, distracted driving conviction, carries with it 2 points on your driver's license, a fine of up to $150. Second offense within the 2-year period, it's 3 points on your license, a fine of up to $250. And then a third offense within a 2-year period is 4 points on your driver's license, a fine of up to $500. And the kicker there is the judge who's sentencing the individual now has the authority to sentence that person to have their license suspended for a period of 90 days. I haven't seen a second or third offense yet, but we've seen several first offense violations, more to follow on that. The second current issue listed on this slide is one of strangulation. It's a term of art. When you're cutting off the nose and mouth, obstructing the airways so the person cannot breathe. Same thing with the throat or neck. That's strangulation under the definition listed in the Ohio Revised Code. That law became effective in April of last year, since we were last year. And Ohio, believe it or not, was the 50th of all 50 states to call strangulation a felony. It was not a felony up until then. It was either a felonious assault, if it met the definition, or like a domestic violence if you have a family or household member. But strangulation now is a felony of the 5th degree, unless the victim is a family or household member, in which case it's heightened to a felony of the 4th degree. If it creates a substantial risk of serious physical harm, it's felony of the 3rd degree. If it actually creates serious physical harm as a result of that strangulation activity, it's a felony of the 2nd degree, which is the second most serious felony in the state of Ohio. So we'll see. I mean, in our court, we don't adjudicate felonies. We adjudicate misdemeanors. We see individuals charged with felonies at arraignments. We set bail or bond conditions. We preside over preliminary hearings and bind cases over to the Warren County Grand Jury for further consideration. But it remains to be seen whether or not those strangulation cases will take away some of our domestic violence cases we saw before. Probably not, but we'll see. Last slide that I'll talk about is a specialized docket slide. I preside over what's known as the Warren County Veterans Court. Judge Fisher will tell you about his specialized docket concerning the mental health specialized jurisdiction. The Veterans Court docket was established, we're in our 10th year already, established in April of 2015. What we do is offer veterans who come into our court and they have a probationable offense, either after a plea of guilty or a finding of guilty, they are offered the opportunity to have their case transferred from the regular probation supervision to the Warren County Veterans Court for supervision. We have a specialized team of professionals, experts who come up with an individualized treatment plan for that veteran, and then they're placed on a 4-phase program, self-paced, a minimum of 1.5 years of specialized intensive supervision up to a maximum period of 5 years. And the whole idea behind this is to rehabilitate the veteran so they don't come back into our jurisdiction or any other jurisdiction again. And we've seen some successes on there. The recidivism rate is, about 1 out of 11, 1 out of 9 1 out of 10 or so, 11%, which is absolutely wonderful. And we track that after they graduate. It's not just graduation from the program, it's what happens after they leave the program. So subject to your questions, that concludes my presentation this evening.
Anybody
questions?
Have any questions for Judge Loxley?
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
hearing none, I'll turn it over to Judge Fisher. Thank you.
All right, before I move on, I would suspect those two have responded or had their individuals respond to the distracted driving cases. So my guess is that you are very familiar with what happens should the law not be enforced. All right, other current issues. The expungement versus sealing of records up through 2023. If someone filed for an expungement or sealing the record, it meant the same thing. They were interchangeable terms to have a record just sealed for a certain purpose, a few misdemeanors, maybe a felony or two, basically so that an individual can maybe move forward with their life, get a better opportunity for housing, better opportunity for employment. In 2023, the state separated the terms and defined them such as sealing of the record if an individual petitions for that and a judge grants it. What happens to the files? It goes on to an envelope. It's set aside, cannot be looked at except for under very limited circumstances. Expunging a record takes that sealed record and lights it on fire as though it never existed. There are very few exceptions that an individual's expunged record could be viewed. For example, someone going into law enforcement, that may be a reason to view that expunged record. A sealed record has a few more exceptions of how people can view what has been sealed. For example, nursing. If someone has a theft or a drug conviction in their history, it might still be viewed by the nursing board doing a review of their history. One of the things that we have noticed the legislature has done throughout our tenure on the bench is they are trying to make it easier for people to have a second chance. And when I say second chance, sometimes it's third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, but they are allowing for more cases to be expunged. On the felony level, generally it's a felony of the fourth or fifth degree, allowing a couple of those to be expunged. On the misdemeanor level, it is an infinite amount of misdemeanors. With few exceptions, DUIs, domestic violence, can never be expunged, but outside of that, you can have unlimited number of misdemeanors, and it's going to be up to the judge to allow those to be sealed or expunged. Again, the purpose is to allow people who truly have turned their life around the opportunity to have a better chance at education, at housing, at employment. So the legislature has taken a strong look at this and making changes. This is probably the fourth or fifth change in our 10 or 11 years on the bench, where we expect there are going to be several more going forward. Our second public policy issue, we understand in the news almost all the time now are the court systems. The Supreme Court has been in the news. You take a look at, it doesn't matter if you're left or right, Republican or Democrat, you might be upset with the Supreme Court decision. You might be upset with a local court. You might be upset with how things are run in New York or Georgia on whatever cases are coming forward. We understand that the public perception of the court system is pretty low right now. And it's important to us to make sure that we prop it up as best that we are able to do. So when people come into our court, our goal is to make sure that people understood they are respected, no matter what they're there for. If they're an attorney, if they're a law enforcement, if they're a defendant, if they're a witness, if they're a victim, or if they're just someone from the public wanting to come in and watch, we want to make sure everyone who comes in feels respected. It's from the clerks, from our court staff, from us. So that is our primary goal with regard to perception. Secondly, we want people to know they've been heard. Judge Loxley has a temperament of Job. So when you see someone, actually, we have seen people cuss at Judge Loxley. He has maintained his calm.
I didn't deserve it.
He didn't. But the goal is to maintain calmness. And I can tell you that Judge Loxley has done that. That is always my goal, to follow suit should those things arise, because we want the public to know that it is a safe place to come into. You're going to be heard. And while we can't guarantee the outcome, we do get to decide. You may not like the outcome, but you will know that you have a court system that values you. That's important to us. We know it's not necessarily everywhere, but I can tell you that throughout Warren County, that is the way it works. Lastly, we have a new clerk of court. Jim Spaeth was the clerk of court for a couple of decades. He has retired. The general election, the individuals running unopposed from the primary. It's Brighton Smith. He's a young man that we have met with. We look forward to working with him and seeing how he wants to make a few changes. I know he is a lot younger than us, and it's a lot easier to use technology. So he's going to drag us into the 21st century. But we will get there, and we truly do look forward to working with him, his ideas. Lastly, with regard to issues, we have a new court building that is going up right now. When we started 10, 11 years ago, we had 6,700 square feet for our entire court staff. When the Sheriff's Department moved to their new building with the new jail, we took over their old space. So we had about 11 to 12,000 square feet. And while that is enough right now, it is not enough next year. It's not going to be enough for our future. We are building a 21,000 square foot building. It will have 2 full-size courtrooms, 1 hearing room for our magistrate, and it will have enough space for enough clerks, enough probation staff, enough court staff for the future. We're not looking 5, 10 years down the road. We're looking 25, 30, 35 years down the road. Make sure that we have enough and build it now, pay for it now, so that we don't have to spend a lot more later. One of the things that was important to the county commissioners as well as to us was to make sure that our courtrooms are big enough to host a common pleas trial. And the difference between our trials and the common pleas trials, if we have a jury trial, there are 8 jurors. If there's a common pleas trial, there are 12. Plus there might be some alternates. We are making sure that the jury boxes as well as the jury room is big enough for a common pleas trial. That way, should something happen to the common pleas court building, there will be no disruption in services, that they will be able to take over one of the courtrooms. We will have the other courtroom. So the county is thinking ahead just in case and duplicating the efforts to make sure that there will be no disruption in service. Speaking of that, the building itself is going in between our current building and the juvenile court. Again, that's allowing us to proceed without disruption with the services that we're providing the county right now. This is what the building is going to look like. There are a couple of slight modifications to it, but they're very slight. If you go up there, you can see the sticks being put together. It's actually pretty fascinating watching this big crane. All right. With regard to my specialized docket, Judge Loxley has his Veterans Court. I have what we call the Success Docket. It is our mental health docket. I know we've talked about it here in the past, but we've made some changes in that mental health docket. One of the things that we did, we grew very quickly over the past couple of years. It is no surprise that the pandemic has caused a lot of mental health issues. I know you guys have to face that with your decisions and how you fund mental health. We face that all the time. Our numbers have increased so much so that we had to hire a particular probation officer to do nothing but the Success Docket. We've also added a second session. So we have been doing the Success Docket only on Wednesday mornings. We had enough individuals who have full-time employment that were not able to come in on Wednesdays but still wanted to participate. So we added a Thursday evening so that we have enough people there. We will have 7 after this week on the Thursday afternoon. We have over 20 active individuals right now on our docket. This slide, we started at 18 when we started these presentations. presentations earlier this summer. We are over 20, and it's just increasing. We will have a couple more graduate this year, but those will be replaced very quickly. One of the exciting things about this specialized docket, and some people may ask us why. Why are we doing this? Why are we helping people in this way? Because we're law and order. We're a court system and not a social work system. Well, many of the individuals that come before us would not be before us if they actually had the treatment and the help that they needed prior to coming into the system. And while it is not the system's responsibility to get people help, we're available. The help is available, and we can order it. So we have that opportunity to assist individuals get the help that they truly need so that they don't come back. As Judge Loxley said, he has only an 11% recidivism rate. That is much lower than standard recidivism rates. These specialized dockets throughout the state of Ohio have much lower recidivism rates. That's why we do this. And I can't tell you how heartwarming it is, if you want to say the social worker in me, but when we see an individual at graduation talk about how they were able to bridge the relationship with their families again, who have lost contact with them prior to them starting the program, it's invaluable. So we appreciate being able to do it, and we will continue to do so in the future. Community outreach, in addition to coming out to our 18 jurisdictions, we like to do a lot of outreach, a lot of it with children. Judge Loxley does a lot with the veterans throughout the state of Ohio, including going to high school graduations for junior ROTC. I have the opportunity every April to open up the court for the entire month to mock trials. We host homeschool groups. To 8th grade homeschool groups to do mock trials in our courtroom. We had them every Wednesday this April, and it's just growing. I don't think I'm going to grow beyond April, so we're going to have to fit them in. But we had 10 different homeschool groups throughout Southwest Ohio come into our courtroom. It's an opportunity for the kids to learn what the system is, for us to at least talk to them and them ask questions. So we really appreciate it. This year I had the special opportunity to host my daughter do the mock trial. She was a prosecutor, and I would be afraid to go against her in the future. This is what we do. We thank you very much for allowing us to be here. You have a very fast-growing city. I'm always impressed when we come down to see how things have changed. I know we like to get here in between the 2 years, but we are very impressed with everything you have done, as well as the artwork, and I know we're taking up time. But thank you again for inviting us, or allowing us to invite ourselves into your home. Unless there are any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Hart?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out and talking to us and keeping us updated on not only what's going on holistically, but your specialized dockets. It's appreciated. It's appreciated, and it's impressive what you guys are doing. So thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I feel like I asked this question 2 years ago. The success docket.
Yes.
Funded completely by the county or the state and county, or how does it work?
We had spent $0 for a long time. We have a grant from the Joint Warren Clinton County Mental Health Board. We have a grant from them. Actually, two grants. One is funded by the state. One is funded by them. Other than that's all the funds that we have. We put some of our own funds. We had a fund that had a surplus, so we are using the surplus dollars from user fees to fund our probation staff, the one probation officer. So we are not using any money from the county except from the mental health board.
And I should mention too, on the Veterans Court docket, Title 59. I think you did ask the question a couple years ago. Title 59 requires that the county collect 0.5 mils from all real property owners within the county, and that money is earmarked for the benefit of veterans. Warren County is very fortunate because they're always in the black. They don't spend enough money that they collect, so we're able to tap into that a little bit. I asked the Veteran Services Commission board if they would hire a person part-time and then dedicate that person exclusively to the Warren County Veterans Court. And they do at $1,000 a month. It's a drop in the bucket for the county, taking that money away from any other general fund purposes, but it's just a drop in the bucket. Zero additional taxpayer money for that. It's all volunteers. We have MOUs with the Dayton VA Medical Center, with the Veteran Services Commission, other agencies, prosecutor's office, public defender, and so forth.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you
you
for
very much.
visiting. We appreciate when you
Have a good
come down
evening.
here.
All right.
You too. Thank you. All right. Open forum. Deirdre Dyson.
Is it on? Hello, can you all hear me? Great. My name is Deirdre Dyson. I live at 430 West Loveland Avenue, where I also have my art gallery and studio called Art House 2. I have lived and worked here in Loveland over 45 years. The concept of creating an art gallery to feature work by local artists has been a dream for years. I want to thank the city and staff for being so cooperative and helpful with adapting the lobby at City Hall into a very flexible art gallery display space. It is the result of months of planning by the Loveland Arts Commission. The current gallery space, the current gallery display is titled Here and There, and it happens to feature my own artwork. I was the only person I could get the things together so quickly enough. Art is a lonely activity. Connecting with customers is not easy. There are not many opportunities to bring art to the people as potential owners for their homes and businesses. We are trying to dispel the mindset that art gallery displays are more like visiting a museum than purchasing art for your own enjoyment. The concept for the future of the gallery space is to stage at least 4 different shows a year. These may vary from featuring a single artist, like the current show, or several artists doing a joint show, maybe following seasonal themes, or pick on a certain style, such as an all-abstract exhibition, or specific subjects, such as all floral, or maybe all water. The intent is to feature original work by artists living or working in the Loveland area. Last weekend, close to 100 viewers visited the current display during the Loveland Art Festival. They were very, very interested and absorbed in seeing artwork hanging here at City Hall. Thanks again to Dave Kennedy and the city staff who helped us tremendously to bring this show to City Hall. Thank you all.
Thank you for sharing your art. It's lovely.
Thank you.
All right. Ken Bottom.
First, I want to thank you people for promoting this open forum. I don't think this goes on in a lot of places in our country today. Secondly, I would like to thank Dave Kennedy for introducing me to Chris. I just had this nagging feeling that I knew him or had seen him, and I finally realized I'm pretty sure he's been on some Marine recruitment posters. This is my third appearance here, and same subject. Traffic problems on Wall Street, noise, and fast drivers. I'd like to take just a second to relate my own experience with this. 66 years ago, I was a young boy in Claremont County, Got my first automobile, which was a 1951 Oldsmobile, and could not wait to jerk those mufflers off of there and put on glass packs so everybody would hear me coming and be full of envy. Within the first month, the Amelia Police Department pulled me over, cited me to court, went before a judge, and he said, "We have an ordinance against loud mufflers. Now here's your options. One, you can take up to 30 days, have the correct mufflers put back on, present yourself to the sheriff's office for inspection, you and your car, and this will be a settled deal. If you do not accomplish this, you'll be getting a letter from us shortly after the 30 days rescinding your driving privileges for 6 months. Second offense, there'll be no warning, and your driving privileges will be rescinded for 1 year." I don't know if that's still a possibility in court, but let me tell you, they never saw me again. Things like that need to be done. My problem on Wall Street, and I had a lot of help from Melissa Bacon, is that her correct name? She really walked me through getting the information that I wanted. I appreciate that. We decided on an area. I feel like since Dave Kennedy put the signs in, the flashing signs, things got better for 3 months or so. Now everybody knows it doesn't mean anything, and they just see how close I can make them click. Anyway, the area she helped me concentrate on was Wall Street, Main Street, East and West Loveland Avenue, kind of the general area there on the side of the bridge. It was pretty impressive. The first number I saw was that there were 104 traffic stops in that area for July, August, and September, or June, July, and August. But it went downhill from there. Of that 104 stops, 72 of them received warning tickets. 12 received citations. If you know anything about the traffic problems in our area, 12 citations in 3 months is 1 a week. That's not going to do anything for us. It's not going to cure any problem at all. I don't understand how this generosity got started. You have a situation where you've got a person that actually spends a substantial amount of money to take the mufflers off of their car and put all these elaborate dual exhausts and loud pipes and all that. It's not cheap. So they know they're breaking the law when they do it. It's against federal statute. It's against the state of Ohio, and Loveland's got an ordinance against it. So how it is these people deserve a warning, I just don't understand. They are intentionally breaking the law to see how much noise and aggravating they can be. Then you've got the second class of speeders. Same thing. If you're in a 25 mile an hour zone, which most of Loveland is, 'cause that's why I got a golf cart, by the way, you know when you're going 40 or 50, and we've had motorcycles come past our house at Wall Street. I think they're going 70 or 80 miles an hour and couldn't be happier. So anyway, this is unsatisfactory help that we're getting in that area. A lot of neighbors are upset about it. But they think it's useless to come here and talk to you. I hope that it's not. I would like to know how this warning ticket being the primary thing. I'd like to know how that got started. Is that a police ordinance? Does it come from somebody here? Mayor, if you could, at some point at your convenience, I'd love to have it. I know the chief didn't start it because I was here long before him, and the problem was here long before him. So he's not at fault. But for some reason, we're having this very lax, friendly enforcement, and the problem's getting worse and worse. I got a couple of neighbors that are as upset as I am, and they think we should start our own enforcement routine and get some lawn chairs and a couple of beers Saturday and Sunday morning, and you can hear these guys coming from a long way off, and we'll have time to get up and hold hands and block the road and have a talk with them. So I hope we don't have to do that, but something has to be done, and writing warning If that number was reversed, I think we'd cure a problem. If we had 72 citations and 12 warning tickets, things might straighten out. So whoever's in charge of this at some point, I would appreciate some answers. Thank you.
All right. We will try to avoid you sitting out there on Sunday mornings blocking the road. We'll try to take care of this so you don't have to. All right, sir. All right. Thank you. All right, Chief Huber.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just here to announce that your fire department was selected by the U.S. Fire Administrator to be part of the beta test site for NERIS, which is the National Emergency Reporting Information System. Currently, we're required under the federal law to report every fire that occurs in the city under a program called NFIRS, the National Fire Information System. That system went in line back when you had dot matrix computers and printers, and so that's been a long time. So this is a long time coming. So Congress actually funded this to occur. Underwriters Laboratories was chosen to be the vendor for this system. What it is it basically gives data-driven information to communities about the fire loss and fire system. We're required by law to participate in that. There's no cost to the city for that. And since the fact that we are a dual accredited agency driven by data, and that's how you get accredited. It's all about the data. Decisions that we make in the fire service here in this community are all data driven. They're not emotional. They're data driven. So we apply resources and a standard of cover based on data, not just that myself or our staff or anyone in the community or the council feel that something should be somewhere or we should provide a service one way. It's all data driven. And what the NERIS system will do is allow communities that have fingers such to be able to do heat mapping and everything to actually do overlays and have that at a moment's notice for them. So I'm really proud that our community was chosen to be part of that data to help build that system out for the national. There were only 50 communities in the United States that were chosen to be part of that. Dr. Lori Merrill Moore, who is the U.S. Fire Administrator, personally chose us due to the fact that she was part of and knew that we were involved in the fire accreditation and that we were on the fire commission. So our community was a really impressive that for the U.S. Fire Administrator to choose a community our size to be part of that. So the beta testing has begun. The onboarding has begun. And the nice thing about it is the city has a records management system and a CAD system in our 911 center that it is seamless. It resides in the back room. We will never see it. So when a firefighter puts in a report, it automatically goes to Washington. When a firefighter puts in an EMS report, it automatically goes to the state of Ohio. So it's very seamless. But once it has been uploaded, then it's part of our data, and we can pull that data at any time. The good piece about being part of this is in the future to get the federal grants, and we get a lot of federal grants here. To get the federal grants, you have to be part of the NERIS system to be able to get that. So you have to upload that data because they will make those decisions based upon that data, based upon your fire problems in your community. They will give those grants based upon that. So we'll be way ahead of the game for that, and we're really excited to be moving part of this program.
Thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Mr. Hart?
I'm assuming this is a joint Loveland and Sims, your whole department.
Yes, it's the fire district. So the entire fire district is part of it.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else? Well, I think as is often the case, when good things lead to other good things, and you and your department have a reputation, Chief, which is why no surprise you'd be chosen to participate in something like this. So thank you. All right, next is the minutes from the August 27th meeting. Are there any changes or additions to those minutes?
Move to approve as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
All right, next we have a second reading of an ordinance. Go ahead and read the ordinance.
Ordinance establishing the compensation and classification for the position of support services assistant, removing the position assistant manager, and repealing ordinance 2024-65.
Does anyone have any further comment on this? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-70 passes. It's adopted, I think is how she says it.
Mr. Kennedy?
So we do this every year, and I know it's hot, warm out. We're doing with snow, but as a convenience to the White Pillars HOA, if it's going to change, or if council decides at some point they don't want to do this service, they need time to do this. So that's largely why I'm here in September talking about snow removal. Real simple. There's 212 total units in the White Pillars subdivision. 138 of them are on private streets. That's 65%. They approached the city back in 2022 about whether or not we would be interested for a fee while doing the public streets to go ahead into the private streets within the subdivision. And we agreed to a deal for $1,125 per passing. It really works well up in White Pillars because they're up there. Valley Forge and Turtle Creek both lead into the private private homes, which are basically largely patio homes. So from a public works standpoint, they'll tell you many times over that it's extremely easy to take on that service. It's about a 10 to 15 minute job to do it. They only had to do it once. And last year, we then, of course, when the snow season comes to an end, we simply tally up how many times we've been in there. We send off a bill to the HOA. They immediately send back the payment. It's a wonderful service to those residents. And we're recommending that we do it again through the 2024-2025 winter.
All right. Any comments or questions? All right. I'm going to read the resolution.
Oh, he's letting it go. Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for snow/ice removal of the undedicated streets within the White Pillars subdivision.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Ori.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have Council Manic. We have a new addition, Mr. Warnich.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. The new addition to Council Manic will be updates on our PFAS and our progress with that program, with that remediation program. Since this is kind of the first formal Council Manic on this topic, I thought it'd be a good idea to quickly go through a background and timeline and then get us to where we're at today. And then going forward, it'll simply be updates to, what we talked about previously. So the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which are known as PFAS, are a group of man-made chemicals used to manufacture many types of waterproof, stain-resistant, and non-stick consumer goods. PFAS is also found in common items such as cosmetics, fast food packaging, firefighting foam, and many, many other products. The primary source of exposure to PFAS is through eating and drinking contaminated food or water or their byproducts. These man-made products can enter the drinking water, and for the city of Loveland, it is a direct result of the fact that we do get our water from groundwater, and as do many up and down the Little Miami Aquifer. And those contaminants have infiltrated the groundwater aquifer, and we are seeing them up and down the Little Miami Aquifer. A little background on how this all started and where it started. In 2019, Governor DeWine ordered Ohio EPA and the Ohio Department of Health to analyze the prevalence of PFAS in drinking water. They created what they called the PFAS Action Plan 1.0, which basically said, Ohio EPA, go out and test all 1,500 public water systems within the state of Ohio. They accomplished that within about a year, and they identified 6 different contaminants that they were going to focus on. These are known as PFOA, PFOS, PFOS, GenX, PFBS, PFHXS, and PFNA. For our purposes going forward, we're going to really focus on PFOS, PFOS. That is all we see in our water. The other 6 that are going to be regulated in the future, we do not have any hits here in the city of Loveland. Throughout this testing and currently up to date, we've averaged between 15 and 16 parts per trillion of PFOS. In 2019, when they started this, the Ohio EPA set a health advisory level for anything greater than 70 parts per trillion. So going forward, as the city recognized that this was an issue, we continued to identify the path forward. That path forward was not real clear to anyone in 2019. It was simply everyone was kind of getting a baseline and seeing where everyone was at. In June of 2022, the U.S. EPA started the rulemaking process to implement new drinking water standards, and we knew, in Warren County, when I was up at Warren County, and the city of Loveland knew that the 70 parts per trillion, which was the health advisory level, at some point when this new drinking water limit came out, it was going to be much lower. So at that point, City of Loveland responded and engaged with Burgess and Nyepel to enter into a study. And that study has been posted on the City of Loveland's website, and that was completed earlier in June this year. So that is available on the City of Loveland's website. In the interim there, Ohio EPA announced they were going to fund $87 million towards emerging contaminants, which essentially was PFAS. This $87 million came from the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed by the Biden administration, which essentially breaks down to $17 million per year for every public water system in the state of Ohio for funding. And I'll get to it later, but we all know I've presented it. We're looking at a $17.5 million price tag for our upgrades to our plant. In 2023, City of Loveland joined the class action lawsuits against 3M, DuPont, BASF, and Tyco for discharging PFAS to the groundwater. To date, 2 of those, 3M, DuPont, have been settled, and we have submitted our claims. We're expecting those payments, which are completely based on the amount of water that you pump. We expect those payments, the first payments, to be by the end of this year. Those are front-loaded payments. Not 100% sure what that first payment will be. We haven't officially heard, but they'll be front-loaded in the range of 50% of the total in the first payment, and then over 10 years we get the rest of it. We're anticipating somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $2.5 million in those claims. In April 10th of this year, 2024, the U.S. EPA finalized the National Drinking Water Rule. This stated, within 3 years of this rule establishment, so by the end of year 2027, all public water systems must complete initial monitoring of their system, meaning they must sample their water. By the end of 2027, every public water system must sample their water to see if they have PFAS in it. By the end of 2029, from 2027 through 2029, the following 3 years, we need to, as well as every public water system, identify what we found in those tests and put those out in our consumer confidence reports, which go out every year. And we must notify the public that we're monitoring and what our testing has shown. This is the last part, the key. By the end of 2029, we must meet the MCL, maximum contaminant level. That maximum contaminant level for the constituent we're worried about, PFOS, is 4 parts per trillion. As I stated before, we're at 15.5 to 16. So by the end of 2029, we have the duty to meet that standard. The MCLG, which is just the contaminant level goal, is essentially 0 parts per trillion. So, the goal is for everyone to get down to 0 parts per trillion, get it out of your water completely. So with all this information, with all the back and forth from US EPA, Ohio EPA, the city of Loveland has continued to evolve with this process, and we have continually added and adjusted our communication methods. We started with putting stuff out on our website. We expanded that to social media. We expanded it by tweaking our website, making it much more user-friendly so that the typical resident will go onto the homepage. Right on the homepage, there's an easy button where it's PFAS information. It's all right there. We continue to update all of that information as we get it and as we know new information from US EPA, Ohio EPA. Through this time period, City of Loveland has also created the PFAS Remediation Fund, a dedicated fund for any of the claims that come in, any of those monies, any lease agreements on tower sites, and as well as any grant money that we receive for any of the studies, design, and construction. So that has all been created. And then we are, in April of 2024, we also submitted for the reimbursement of the original study with Burgess and Nyepel. That was for $46,500. We are to receive that money by the end of this month. That will be deposited into the PFAS Remediation Fund. We also, one of the other things we updated on the website was US EPA guidance for home water filters. That's all available on the website. Beginning with your next water bill, you will see on there a message that says basically directing you to the link for all the PFAS information. We have limited capabilities on our bills about how much information we can put on there, and quite frankly, there's a lot of information on PFAS. So we are giving the direct link so that any customer, resident can go directly there to see everything that we know, and we will post up there in a timely fashion. The goal is to also post basically any updates that are given to council in these council manics. They will get summarized and put up there so that everyone can follow along to see where we're at. One of the other things that we've done that I don't know that we've talked much about, the city of Loveland, we have three source water wells, 3 wells that we pump out of. All 3 of them actually have 3 different concentrations of PFAS or PFOS. They're all they range from 10 to 35. Now remember, when I said 15 to 16, that's finished water. So that's water coming literally to your tap. The source water, when we combine those 3, you get the average of 15 to 16. We've implemented the pumping strategy of not utilizing that 3rd well that has the higher concentrations. It's called lead lag. We essentially run the lowest concentration well in lead. Our lag pump, which means it comes on when we have high usage, would be the next highest concentration. The 3rd highest only comes on in emergency situations. We will run that monthly because we do need to keep wells fresh, but that is one other strategy we're using to keep those concentrations as low as possible. As far as the study, we talked about that. That's been completed. We put out requests for qualifications for design. Those were put out in June of this year. Those were back in our office about 2 weeks ago. We have identified a firm that we have entered into scope and fee negotiations with, which it's public knowledge. It's AECOM. We'll be entering negotiations with them. We will bring that to council once we get to a proper place for a contract. AECOM is a world-renowned engineering firm in the water and wastewater industry. They've done several PFAS remediation plants already. They've got their own pilot testing facility down in Austin, Texas. They're a really, really great firm, and we hope to get to a point where we're presenting council with the contract here by the next council meeting. Essentially, that is where we're at. That is where we stand today. There's one other aspect that I just want to talk about real quickly. It's the funding aspect. We continue to make inroads weekly. Mr. Kennedy and I I would say at least once a week, if not every other 2 weeks, we're having conversations with federal and state legislators. And thanks to the mayor, too, getting us in touch with the governor's office, we've been having some very productive conversations revolving around how funding is going to work and the hurdles we are currently seeing with that funding. So, with those efforts, those continued efforts, I do see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, that, we can have some successful funding opportunities here in the near future, and we will continue to work towards that. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions from council.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions? Vice Mayor?
Just can you talk a little bit more about AECom? And they're going to help us come up with a remediation plan. Is that what
So the remediation plan has been decided based on the study. The remediation plan has been identified as granular activated carbon. That's the most flexible and most well tested form of remediation to this point. There's three different types of remediation: anion exchange, GAC, granular activated carbon, and membrane technology. All three do a good job, but for our situation where we do not have an existing building to put the current vessels, the new vessels in, we will have to build a new building. It makes the most sense to build a building that has flexibility, which GAC vessels allow that. If down the road, because there's 30-some PFAS contaminants that have been identified, and right now only 6 are proposed to be regulated, you will have the ability to switch out resin from GAC to anion resin. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. So to answer that question, what AECom will be doing is designing the plant, the GAC plant. So they will be doing the building, everything from the building to the process to any other things that we need, the chlorine room, new chlorine room, fluoride room, because the existing facility, it's not going to function for what the new facility needs to be. So again, we're not under contract yet with AECom. We're in scope and fee negotiations, but they were identified through the RFQ process as the best firm for this project.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Hart?
I just kind of want to go through real quick some things that I heard. So starting in 2019, we were sitting 80% below the recommended level.
That's correct.
So there's no action necessary at that point. We were well within quote unquote safe standards presented by the EPA at that time.
Presented by the Ohio EPA. That is correct.
So fast forward a couple of years when we really have no reason to take action because we are well below a standard. We're presented with a new standard that presents a $17.5 million problem that we are now facing without any real answer. They've provided a mandate with no real funding that's going to support what many communities are going to delve into. And we've now put a button on the website so that everybody can access all the information that you've just stated, in addition to everything that we have at our hands at our disposal. So I guess what I'm getting at is there's been no work done on the city's end to not be as transparent as possible about what we're doing and what we're trying to deal with over the last quote, 5-6 years.
Correct. I believe again, my background coming from Warren County Water, we have exactly the same issue here at City of Loveland. As far as transparency and as far as outreach to the community, I feel the City of Loveland, when I came here, the amount of information that was already available to the customers was very good. I agree. I think there's been a lot of different ideas to help get that information out there. We've gotten comments and thoughts from council, from residents on other ways to communicate to our customers, and I think we're evolving and doing that as it comes about. So yes, I believe everything everything that the City of Loveland is able to do, we've done and we will continue to improve on. This is an evolving thing with all communities, all public water systems. We are all learning how to address this with the community. This has been my biggest, twofold. The funding and the communication is my biggest talking point with our regulators on helping us get behind, them getting behind public water systems and what the communication needs to be. This continues to be a struggle with the regulators, with them giving us great direction. They have no problem putting down regulations and mandates, but to get that out to the public has been a difficult process. So we are, in my opinion, City of Loveland is doing a very good job getting all that information to the public.
And I appreciate your work. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Ord.
Mr. Weinich, I've heard a lot of different ratios and comparisons. So 4 parts per trillion, and I've heard this from different people. What is that in a Olympic-sized pool?
It's 4 drops of water.
4 drops of water in an Olympic-sized pool.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Bateman.
Just wanted to say thank you for starting off this series of community updates on Council Manic. I think that was a great recap of the narrative of the last several years with regard to this issue. So, and also I appreciate the sort of latest news that at the end. I didn't know about the well pumping strategy. I think that shows how this is evolving every day. New tactics are being implemented to best serve our customers. So again, I just wanted to give you my support and appreciation for laying it out there. And again, I think to your point, this is how you do the community outreach, is you just be candid about where we have been and where we're going. And there's really that's all we can do is frankly speak about the current status and where we are. So again, Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Weinich, thanks for presenting this. And again, I look forward to this being a long process, as it will be, I'm sure.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you for the update. I think we're very fortunate that we have you bringing all your wealth of experience from Warren County, because this is not an easy situation that we're going to have to get through these next few years. All right. We're down to City Council reports. All I have is that Oktoberfest is this Friday and Saturday, and I think the schedule is all over social media, but you can certainly find it on Little Miami River Chamber Alliance's website. Loveland U starts tomorrow night. So I don't know if any council members are going to that, but that starts tomorrow. Mr. Weisgerber is here. He is our, what do you call that? Director of Loveland U? Professor. The professor of Loveland U?
Yeah. I like that.
The dean of Loveland U?
The dean.
Perhaps the dean. So that kicks off tomorrow night. I think the Loveland Citizens Police Academy kicks off here soon. Last week? Okay. All right. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? All right, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please. Ted.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps.
All right, time to go and eat before.